Okay, so are you ready for a really interesting deep dive today?
Always ready.
We're going to try to tackle something pretty big today.
Okay.
We're diving into what it means to be human.
Oh, wow.
Y-
That's a pretty broad topic.
It is really broad.
Yeah.
Like, where do we even begin with something like that? I mean, it's everything.
Well, I think a good place to start is with the simple classification of humans,
Okay.
which is Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens,
Yeah, wise man.
wise man.
That's what it means.
Who decided that was an appropriate title for us?
Right. It's a little bit presumptuous when you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
Like, who are we to claim the title of wise man? It's interesting, though, when you
Yeah.
think about it, because what does set us apart from our closest primate relatives? Like chimpanzees, we share a surprising amount of DNA with them.
We do.
But there are some key differences.
Okay, like what?
Well, even our chromosome count is different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so humans have 23 pairs,
Okay.
while other great apes have 24.
Huh.
Now, that might not sound like a big deal,
Right.
but it has some significant implications for our genetic makeup
Yeah.
and how we've evolved.
So we're telling me one less pair of chromosomes is responsible for, like, human civilization and art and technology and all of that.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It is kind of wild.
It really highlights how much those subtle genetic variations can influence the course of evolution.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting: human evolution.
Okay.
It wasn't a simple straight line.
Oh.
There was interbreeding between different hominin species like Neanderthals.
Wait, so you're saying that, like, I have Neanderthals in my family tree?
Essentially, yes.
Get out of here.
Most people of European and Asian descent carry about 1–4% Neanderthal DNA.
Wow.
It's like a lasting reminder of our shared ancestry.
So those family reunions must have been wild back then.
Right.
Imagine.
I mean, are we part Neanderthal then? Is that what you're saying?
In a way, yeah. You have a bit of Neanderthal DNA in you.
So do I have any of their traits? Is that why I'm so good at who speaker trails are?
Well, that's a question that researchers are still trying to figure out.
Okay.
Some studies suggest that certain Neanderthal genes might influence our immune system,
Oh.
maybe even our sleep patterns.
Oh, wow.
They're looking into all sorts of things.
This is already blowing my mind, and we're just getting started.
I know, right? It's clear that our journey from those early hominins to modern humans is full of twists and turns and unexpected connections.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder what else there is to discover about our past and how it continues to shape who we are today.
It's fascinating stuff.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of Neanderthal in us,
Yeah,
which is wild.
a little bit.
But let's fast forward to Homo sapiens,
Right?
and what we did next, this crazy timeline of human history.
It's a long one.
And it really makes you realize just how much has happened in a relatively short amount of time.
It's a lot to cover.
It really is.
It really is.
So where do we even begin?
Well, I think we can start by remembering that for the majority of human existence, we were hunter-gatherers.
Okay.
We lived in small groups.
Right.
We moved around a lot.
Nomadic life. Exactly. No fixed addresses or anything like that.
Nope. We were constantly on the move, following food sources.
Wow.
And then around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, something incredible happened.
Okay.
The Neolithic Revolution.
The Neolithic Revolution.
Yeah, have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, good.
But remind me.
So basically,
Give me.
we started cultivating crocs,
Okay.
domesticating animals,
Oh.
and essentially...
Like we woke up one day and decided we didn't want to chase gazelles anymore.
Well, I don't think it was an overnight decision.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty significant shift.
It was a huge change.
It really was.
Yeah.
And it allowed for larger settlements, food surpluses,
Okay.
and ultimately the development of civilizations.
So agriculture was a big deal.
Agriculture changed everything.
Oh.
And what's fascinating is that this didn't just happen in one place.
Oh, really?
No, it happened independently in different parts of the world.
Get out of here. You're kidding.
I'm serious. We see evidence of early agriculture in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East,
Right.
but also in the Yellow River Valley of China,
Okay.
in New Guinea,
Wow.
in the Americas.
So it was like happening simultaneously.
Exactly. It wasn't a case of one group figuring it out and spreading the knowledge.
Right.
It seems like different groups of humans were grappling with similar challenges
Interesting.
and coming up with similar solutions independently.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and that leads us to the rise of those early civilizations you mentioned,
Okay.
like Sumer,
Sumer.
with its incredible invention of writing.
Oh, right.
The Carol Supi civilization in Peru, which predates even the Incas and the Mayans.
Wow.
These weren't just isolated pockets of advancement either.
Oh.
They were complex societies with their own unique cultures, belief systems, and innovations.
So we're talking cities, governments, organized religion, like the whole 9 yards?
Exactly. These ancient civilizations were vibrant hubs of human ingenuity.
It's incredible to think about.
It really is. And you know what's interesting?
What?
While these civilizations rose and fell over time, their legacies, their inventions, their ideas, they didn't just disappear.
Okay.
They laid the groundwork for the societies that came after them.
That's a really good point.
It's like building on the work of those who came before us.
It really is.
And that's true for us today, too.
So even though, when we think about history, we tend to focus on like Rome or Greece, we're actually indebted to these much older civilizations for so much.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that history didn't just happen in one place.
Right.
It was unfolding simultaneously across continents.
Yeah.
With different cultures interacting, clashing, and influencing each other in really profound ways.
It makes you rethink that traditional, very like Eurocentric view of history, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Human history is messy.
Yeah, it is.
It's complex. It's full of surprises.
Definitely.
But even with all of its twists and turns,
right,
there's this common thread that runs through it all.
What's that?
Our incredible capacity for innovation, adaptation, and resilience.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is.
Like, no matter the challenges, humans kind of find a way.
We do. We find a way to overcome them, to adapt, to survive, and even to thrive.
And we create some pretty remarkable things along the way.
We do, and that's part of what makes studying human history so captivating.
Yeah.
It's a testament to our endless potential.
I love that.
Even as we grapple with those same questions about our place in the world.
It's true.
Questions that have resonated across millennia.
It's amazing to think about those ancient civilizations, building these incredible things without all the tools and technology that we have today.
It's really remarkable.
It makes you wonder how they did it.
I know.
That's been a lot of work.
It really makes you appreciate the ingenuity of our ancestors.
Yeah, for sure.
They were able to accomplish so much with so little.
Exactly. And I guess that's where, like, our superpower comes in.
What's that?
Our big brains.
Our brains are definitely one of our most defining features.
Yeah. They're pretty incredible when you think about it.
Right. All those neurons firing away.
So for a long time, scientists were really focused on the size of the human brain.
Right. Because generally speaking,
bigger brain equals, like, smarter species.
Exactly. Bigger was considered better.
Right.
But it's not just about size.
Okay.
It's also about structure and function.
Okay, so, like, what's going on in there?
Well, there are different parts of the brain that do different things.
Right.
And one area that's particularly important in humans is the prefrontal cortex.
Prefrontal cortex, now that rings a bell.
It's the part of your brain right behind your forehead.
Okay.
And it's responsible for things like planning, decision-making, complex thought.
So all those things that make us human, basically.
Exactly. It's what sets us apart from our primate relatives.
Yeah. Okay, so that, like, inner voice I have that's telling me to choose the oatmeal over the donut for breakfast.
That's your prefrontal cortex hard at work.
See, I knew it. It's more evolved than I thought.
But there's another fascinating aspect of the human brain that we should discuss.
What's that?
Episodic memory.
Okay, now we're talking. My episodic memory is pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, I can remember things like that amazing concert we went to a few weeks ago.
Right.
Or that really embarrassing thing I did back in high school.
Ah, yes, those memories that never seem to fade.
Exactly. It's like I have a built-in time machine in my head.
It's true. Episodic memory allows us to revisit those past experiences.
Yeah.
And it also helps us learn from them.
Okay, that's a good point, because if we couldn't remember our mistakes, we'd probably just keep making them.
Right, exactly.
Right. I've made a lot of mistakes, so I'm glad I can remember them.
Well, it's what allows us to learn and grow as individuals.
That's a good point.
And as a species.
Yeah, but it's still kind of weird, though, when you really think about it.
What's weird?
The fact that we can, like, relive those memories and feel those emotions again.
It's pretty amazing.
It is, but it's also kind of strange.
I mean, imagine what it would be like if we couldn't remember our past experiences.
I guess it would be like living in a constant state of now.
Right. We wouldn't have that sense of continuity that makes us who we are.
It would be pretty disorienting, I think.
Definitely.
But it makes you wonder, though.
What's that?
Do other animals have episodic memory?
That's a question that researchers are still trying to answer.
Like, does my dog remember that time he stole a steak off the counter?
We can't ask a dog about its memories, but we can observe its behavior.
Right.
And there is some evidence that certain animals might have a rudimentary form of episodic memory.
Interesting.
But it's definitely not as complex or as developed as ours.
Okay, so we've got these big brains capable of amazing things.
Right.
But we didn't just stop there. We did something really incredible with them.
We did.
We created art, music, language, entire societies. Like, how did we even do that?
It's a testament to our creativity and our capacity for innovation. It really does.
And it's almost too much to process. Where do we even begin?
Well, I think a good place to start is with language.
Okay, language is pretty important.
It's essential to human communication and to our ability to share ideas and knowledge.
Absolutely. And we take it for granted, don't we?
Yeah, we really do. We use it every day without even thinking about how complex it is.
It's true.
I mean, think about it. We communicate in these incredibly intricate systems of symbols and sounds with grammar and syntax that allow us to convey nuanced ideas and emotions.
It's mind-boggling when you actually stop to think about it.
It really is. And what's even more amazing is that there are over 6,000 languages spoken around the world today.
6,000? Are you serious?
I'm serious. Each one a unique way of seeing and understanding the world.
That's incredible. It's like this incredible tapestry of human experience.
It really is, and it's something to be celebrated.
It is, for sure.
Because it highlights our diversity and our ability to connect with each other in so many different ways.
It's through language that we share our stories, our cultures, our hopes and dreams.
Exactly. And it's what makes us human.
I love that. Well said. That wraps up our deep dive into what makes us human.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From our ancient ancestors to the complexities of the human brain and everything in between.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
What's the beauty of it, though? There's always more to learn and explore.
Exactly. And that's what makes being human so fascinating.
I totally agree. So until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
And never stop asking questions.
right, so get ready to dig deep, cause today. We're going deep on a topic that's literally right under our feet.
Okay.
Earth. Yeah. And before you say it,
yeah.
I know what you're thinking. We're using Wikipedia as our source.
Okay.
But trust me on this. There's a ton of fascinating stuff on Earth, on Wikipedia, that you probably never knew, and I definitely didn't.
Right.
So are you ready for this?
Absolutely. Let's unearth some knowledge.
Okay, first up, a little brain teaser for you.
Okay.
What does measuring the Earth have to do with a game of pool?
I'm intrigued, but I'm drawing a blank here.
All right. So you know how the Earth's circumference is about 40,000 kilometers?
Right.
Turns out that's not just some random number. The meter itself was originally based on this measurement, 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the North Pole to the equator.
Wow.
So imagine having to actually, walk that one off to measure it.
That's incredible. I always just take the meter for granted, and I never realized it had such a fascinating connection to Earth's size.
Right. It makes you appreciate those, seemingly simple units of measurement in a whole new way.
Yeah, totally.
But hold on. We're just getting started. Let's talk about those, actually, facts about Earth that'll make you the hit of your next trivia night.
I'm all ears.
Okay, picture this.
Right.
You're standing on top of Mount Everest.
Okay.
The tallest point on Earth, right?
Right.
Well, not so fast.
Right.
Turns out you're actually further away from Earth's center if you're standing on Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador.
Now that's a curveball. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it's all about Earth's shape.
Okay.
Which isn't a perfect sphere.
Right.
It actually bulges at the equator.
Ah, the equatorial bulge. So because Chimborazo is closer to the equator, it kind of gets a little boost from that bulge, and that puts it farther from Earth's center, even though Everest's peak is higher from sea level.
Exactly.
Wow.
So you might have climbed to the top of the world, but you haven't been to the furthest point from Earth's center.
I like it.
But hey, while we're on the subject of Earth's unique features,
Yeah?
how about we rewind the clock a bit?
Okay.
Way back to Earth's formation.
Now we're talking deep time. I'm ready to time travel.
Buckle up, because this is where things get really wild.
Okay.
Picture this. The solar system is still a chaotic mess.
Okay.
Just dust and gas swirling everywhere. And then bam, this Mars-sized object called Theia slams into proto-Earth.
Oh, talk about a bad day for early Earth.
Right.
But wasn't that impact crucial for our planet's evolution?
Absolutely, yeah. It's the leading theory behind the formation of our moon.
Right.
This impact was so powerful that debris from both Theia and Earth was ejected into space. And over time, that debris coalesced to form the moon.
It's mind-boggling to think that a single catastrophic event billions of years ago shaped what we see in the night sky today.
Right.
That's incredible.
It makes you wonder what other cosmic events have, shaped our planet in ways that we're still discovering.
Right.
But that wasn't the end of the drama for early Earth.
Oh, not even close. After the moon's formation, Earth went through a period aptly named the Late Heavy Bombardment.
Yeah. So that involved a lot of, shall we say, unwelcome visitors.
Yes. During this period, countless asteroids and comets pummeled Earth.
Oh, my God.
It was like a cosmic game of marbles, with each impact shaping the planet's surface.
Whoa, that must have been a rough time to call Earth home.
Yeah.
But those impacts weren't all bad.
Right. They were actually vital for Earth's evolution.
Yeah.
They delivered water and organic molecules, the building blocks of life,
right,
as we know it.
And speaking of building blocks, all this bombardment and volcanic activity led to something else essential.
Yeah.
Our atmosphere and oceans. So the Earth we know and love today was literally forged in fire and ice, huh?
Yeah, you could say that.
And speaking of ice, did you know there's a theory that Earth was once completely covered in ice?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking like a planet-sized snowball known as Snowball Earth.
It's a wild theory.
Hold on. So the entire planet covered in ice.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Well, it's a fascinating hypothesis. It's thought that a drop in greenhouse gases, possibly caused by volcanic activity, may have triggered a runaway cooling effect, leading to a planet just encased in ice.
Wow. That's both amazing and slightly terrifying to imagine.
Yeah.
But life obviously found a way to survive.
Exactly. Even under all that ice, volcanic activity continued, and eventually enough greenhouse gases were released to thaw the planet, setting the stage for the incredible explosion of life that followed.
So you're talking about the Cambrian explosion, when life went from simple single-celled organisms to all those bizarre and wonderful creatures we see in the fossils. So this, like, snowball period, as crazy as it sounds, might have actually paved the way for the incredible diversity of life we see on Earth today. It's like the universe has a strange sense of humor.
It certainly does. It makes you wonder about the unexpected twists and turns in Earth's history and how they've shaped our planet in ways we're still piecing together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It really makes you appreciate just how resilient, like how tough our planet is.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a survivor, right?
Right.
But speaking of survival,
Right.
let's fast forward a bit to, a time when humans enter the picture.
Right.
So we know the basic story. Humans evolve,
Right.
spread across the globe, and, well, here we are.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I bet there are some lesser-known facts in there, right?
Absolutely. For instance, did you know that roughly 90% of the human population lives in the Northern Hemisphere?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
90%.
Yeah, about that.
I mean, I knew it wasn't, like, perfectly balanced or anything, but
Right.
that's a much bigger difference than I would have guessed.
It is.
Why is that? Is it just, the Northern Hemisphere is objectively better? Just kidding.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Well, there might be a few folks up north who agree with you on that. I think it mostly comes down to landmass distribution.
Okay.
The Northern Hemisphere just has more land
Right.
compared to the Southern Hemisphere.
Okay.
Combine that with historical migration patterns, resource availability, and you get this pretty dramatic difference in, where humans have ended up.
So it's not just, like, personal preference then?
Not entirely, no.
Okay.
Although, I mean, I'm sure those factors play a role on smaller scales, but...
Interesting. It makes you think about how much of, like, human history has been shaped by these,
Yeah.
factors like geography and the environment.
Absolutely.
But speaking of shaping the future,
Right.
what about Earth's ultimate fate?
Yeah.
The sun's not going to last forever, right? What does Wikipedia have to say about that whole situation?
That's a question with an answer that unfolds billions of years from now.
Okay.
But you're right. The sun it's slowly but steadily getting brighter.
Brighter. So, like, how much brighter are we talking?
Well, in about 1 billion years, it'll be about 10% brighter than it is today.
Okay. 10%. That doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah.
We're talking, like, a little stronger sunscreen, maybe.
It's a little more intense than you might think.
Okay.
That extra 10% of solar energy will have a significant impact on Earth's climate.
Huh.
One of the big things scientists are looking at is the inorganic carbon cycle.
Hold on. Inorganic carbon cycle. You're going to have to break that down for me.
Yeah, so essentially it refers to how carbon moves through the non-living parts of the Earth system.
Okay.
Like rocks and the atmosphere.
Okay.
And the increased heat from the sun could accelerate this cycle, potentially even lowering carbon dioxide levels to a point where plants would struggle to survive.
Wait, so no plants?
It could be a problem, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of need those, right?
Yeah, exactly. It would be a major disruption to the biosphere. Plants are like the primary producers of oxygen through photosynthesis.
Right.
And without them, oxygen levels would plummet, making animal life, including us, impossible.
Okay. Yeah, that's officially not good.
Not great.
But that's still over 1 billion years away, right? So, like, we've got time to figure something out.
True. This is a very long-term scenario.
Okay.
But it gets more intense.
Okay.
In about 3.5 billion years, the sun will be a whopping 40% brighter.
Okay, now I'm getting a little nervous.
Yeah.
So paint me a picture. Like, what does Earth look like in this far future scenario?
Well, if current models are correct,
okay.
Earth's average temperature could reach a scorching 100 degrees Celsius.
100 degrees Celsius. That's like boiling point.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God.
The oceans would evaporate entirely, leaving behind a dry, barren landscape.
Wow.
Essentially, Earth would become more like Venus.
Okay.
A runaway greenhouse effect, transforming it into a completely inhospitable world.
That is a grim picture.
Yeah.
So game over for Earth at that point. Or are we, like, talking some serious sci-fi solutions by then?
Yeah.
Like moving to Mars or something?
Right. It's definitely a scenario that pushes the limits of our current understanding and technological capabilities.
Yeah.
And while, we can't rule anything out completely in such a distant future, it really highlights the importance of understanding and addressing the challenges we face today.
So even though these events are, like, billions of years in the future,
Yeah.
they're still relevant to us now.
Absolutely.
So by looking ahead, like billions of years, we can actually learn something about how to handle, the next few hundreds.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate long view,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's like studying Earth's deep time, both past and future, gives us this crucial context for our present challenges, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
It's a reminder that we're not just inhabitants of this planet, but we're part of this vast and complex system.
Yeah, it's both humbling and honestly a little terrifying.
Yep.
But hey, that's the universe for yeah, right.
That's right.
Always keeps things interesting.
Indeed. And speaking of interesting,
Yeah.
have we convinced you that there's more to learn about Earth than you might expect?
Oh, absolutely.
Even from just, like, its Wikipedia page.
Yeah, we've covered everything from ancient cosmic collisions to the possibility of a planet-sized snowball, and even like Earth's ultimate fate billions of years from now.
And we've only scratched the surface.
Right.
There's a universe of knowledge out there just waiting to be explored.
It really is well said.
Yeah.
And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us on this whirlwind deep dive into Earth, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure exploring these fascinating facts and theories with you.
Absolutely. And a huge thank you to you, dear listener, for tuning in. We hope this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity and given you some serious food for thought.
Yeah, definitely.
And remember, there's always more to learn, more to discover, and more to question.
And who knows, maybe one of you listening will be the one to come up with the solution to that whole sun turning into a red giant problem.
Right. Now, that's a challenge for the ages.
Yeah.
But seriously, whether you're pondering the mysteries of Earth's past or the possibilities of its future, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and most importantly, keep looking up. Until next time, stay curious. Have you ever stopped to think about how long humans have been dreaming of robots?
It's true.
I mean, long before we had the technology to build them, the idea of artificial helpers, companions, even artificial life, it's been captivating our imaginations for centuries.
What's fascinating is that this deep dive into the world of robots actually starts not in a science lab, but with ancient myths and legends.
We're working with excerpts from the Wikipedia article on robots, which, by the way, is a treasure trove of information.
It really is.
It mentions how, in the Iliad, the Greek god Hephaestus had these golden handmaidens who assisted him in his forge.
They weren't just statues either.
They were described as intelligent, even lifelike.
Exactly, and that's a perfect example of this deep-seated human desire to create artificial helpers, to ease our burdens, or even just to push the boundaries of what's possible.
So how do we go from these mythical beings to actual functioning machines?
Well, they weren't exactly C-3PO serving up witty banter.
What did early attempts at robots actually look like?
But the ancients did achieve some remarkable things. We're talking about automatons, machines designed to carry out specific actions automatically.
Like that incredible Chinese water clock from the 11th century, right? The Susong clock, it had these mechanical figurines that could be programmed to play different drum rhythms.
Precisely. The Susong clock is a fantastic example of how ingenuity and artistry intersected in these early automatons.
They used gears, weights, water power, all sorts of clever mechanisms to create these moving, functioning devices.
It's amazing to think that even back then, people were already experimenting with programming.
But most of these early automatons, they were limited to pretty simple preset actions, weren't they?
You're right. And this is where the idea of control becomes crucial in the evolution of robots. It's one thing to build a machine that can perform a task, but it's another thing entirely to control it, to make it do what you want when you want it.
So how did we bridge that gap?
Well, it might surprise you to learn that one of the ancestors of modern robotics was the torpedo.
Wait, the torpedo?
Like the underwater weapon.
They're the very same.
The Brennan torpedo, developed in the late 1800s, used a clever system of wires to allow an operator to steer it remotely. This was a huge breakthrough because it meant you could guide the torpedo's actions from a distance rather than just setting it on a predetermined course.
That's incredible. So the torpedo, in a way, was an early experiment in remote control.
Exactly. And this idea of remote control continued to evolve in the early 20th century. One notable example is Leonardo Torres Quevedo and his Telekino system. What's fascinating here is that the Telekino could control machines with multiple states of operation.
Okay, can you break that down for me? What does multiple states of operation actually mean?
Imagine a simple on-off switch. That's a single state of operation. But with the Telekino, Torres Quevedo could control machines that could do more than just turn on or off.
He could make them perform different actions, switch between tasks, all remotely.
That's a huge leap forward.
So we're talking about the very early stages of what we now think of as robotic arms or even those robotic surgery systems.
Exactly. It's all about that level of control, that ability to manipulate a machine with precision and nuance from a distance.
But what about robots that could act on their own without needing a human to control their every move?
Well, that brings us to the fascinating work of William Gray Walter and his tortoise robots in the 1940s. These weren't just remote-controlled. These robots could actually exhibit complex autonomous behavior.
Autonomous behavior? What were these tortoises actually doing?
They could navigate obstacles, they would seek out light, and get this, when their batteries were running low, they could even find their way back to their charging stations.
Oh, way.
That's like a very basic form of robot intelligence, right?
Exactly.
It's not intelligence as we humans understand it, but it was a remarkable step towards robots that could sense their environment and make decisions based on that information.
Those tortoises were really ahead of their time, and they paved the way for a pivotal moment in robotics, the arrival of the first truly programmable robot. But we'll save that story for after a quick break.
You know, it's funny how those little tortoises, like you said, they were really onto something.
Yeah.
They captured that essential idea of a robot, a machine that doesn't just move, but senses and responds to its environment. And that brings us to a real turning point in the story, the Unimate.
Ah, yes, the granddaddy of modern robots. Tell me more about how the Unimate changed the game.
Created by George Devol in 1954, the Unimate was the first digitally operated and programmable robot.
Wow.
This wasn't about clever mechanisms or remote control anymore.
Okay.
This is about giving robots a digital brain, the ability to learn and execute complex sequences of movements.
Okay, so instead of just flipping a switch or steering with a joystick, we're talking about actual programming, right?
Right.
What did that look like in those early days?
It was pretty groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine feeding instructions into the Unimate, almost like writing a computer program, but for physical actions. Suddenly, robots could perform a variety of tasks, adapt to changes, and do things that would be dangerous or impossible for humans.
And I bet the manufacturing industry was all over this.
Absolutely. Think back to that Wikipedia image, the one with the automated production line, robots dominating the factory floor. That image becomes iconic for a reason. The Unimate ushered in the era of industrial robots, revolutionizing car manufacturing, electronics, you name it.
It's crazy to think about how quickly robots went from those early automatons to becoming essential workers in these massive industries. But their influence stretches far beyond factory walls, doesn't it? We've got robots in our homes, hospitals, even exploring other planets.
Exactly, and that's a really crucial point. When we think about robots today, We have to think beyond that classic image of a robotic arm welding car parts. The world of robotics has exploded into this incredible diversity of forms and functions.
It's like we've got different species of robots evolving to fill all sorts of niches, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the major categories we see today?
Well, we've got service robots, for one. These are the ones designed to assist humans in various tasks. They can be as simple as a robotic vacuum cleaner zipping around your living room,
Right.
or as complex as those surgical robots assisting surgeons in delicate operations.
It's mind-blowing how robots are now assisting with brain surgery. And then there are the domestic robots, the ones becoming more and more common in our homes.
Exactly. We've all heard of Roombas, but it goes way beyond that now. Robotic lawnmowers, pool cleaners, even those laundry folding robots you mentioned earlier. It's incredible to think how much of our daily chores could potentially be handled by robots in the near future.
It really does feel like we're on the cusp of a new era. But out of all these areas where robots are making their mark, the one that really captures my imagination is healthcare.
It's a fascinating area, and it really gets at the heart of that ancient desire we talked about to create artificial beings that can help us, care for us.
Exactly. Can you tell me more about some of the specific ways robots are being used in healthcare today?
We'll take the Friend robot, for example. It's designed to assist the elderly and people with disabilities with everyday tasks.
Okay.
Things like eating, dressing, even getting around. Tasks that can become incredibly difficult as we age or if we have mobility issues.
It's like having a helping hand, literally, whenever you need it. I can see how that would be life-changing for so many people.
Yeah.
But of course, with all this incredible advancement in robotics, we also have to address the elephant in the room, don't we? The impact on jobs, the ethical concerns.
You're absolutely right. As robots become more advanced, as they become more integrated into our lives, we have to carefully consider the implications. It's not just about the wow factor of the technology, but about how it shapes our world, for better or worse.
And those are conversations we can't shy away from. So let's dive into those big questions. That's a lot to consider, isn't it? The advancements in robotics are incredible, but they definitely bring up valid questions about the future.
They do. One of the biggest concerns, of course, is the potential impact on jobs.
Right.
As automation increases, it's natural to wonder if robots will eventually replace human workers in many industries.
Yeah, it's the classic sci-fi dilemma playing out in the real world.
Right. But it's not as simple as robots taking over. A report by the World Bank actually suggested that while automation might displace some jobs, it can also create new opportunities.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a zero-sum game.
Exactly. The key takeaway is that adaptability and the development of new skills will be essential in navigating this changing job landscape. And it's not just about jobs. The ethical considerations are just as important.
Especially when we're talking about robots being used in areas like warfare.
Right.
That's a whole other can of worms.
It really is. The idea of autonomous weapons systems, robots making life or death decisions without human intervention.
Right.
It raises some very serious ethical questions about accountability and the potential for unintended consequences.
Those are questions we, as a society, need to grapple with sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. It goes back to that point about not just marveling at the technology, but actively shaping how it's developed and used. It's a responsibility we all share.
You know, reading through these excerpts on robots, it struck me how far we've come from those early automatons to these incredibly complex machines we have today. And it makes you wonder, what's next? What will the robots of the future be capable of?
It's a question that sparks the imagination. We see glimpses of the possibilities in those Wikipedia excerpts. Robots that can reconfigure themselves, adapt to different tasks, almost like shape-shifting.
That sounds like something straight out of Terminator 2, but seriously, the potential is incredible. Imagine a robot that could transform from a search and rescue worker to a medical assistant, depending on the situation.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? And it speaks to the fact that this journey of robotics, it's not just about building bigger and better machines, it's about pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I think the biggest one is this. The future of robots is not something that just happens to us. It's something we shape through the choices we make today, the research we fund, the ethical lines we draw, the conversations we have.
It's a future we're all a part of writing.
Exactly. So stay curious, stay informed, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one building the next generation of incredible robots.
I love that. A little inspiration to end our robotic journey. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and be sure to check back soon for another fascinating exploration into a new topic.